Hello, and welcome to the Realist Idealist podcast. I am your spiritual guru, Brenna Alexandera, and I will be your ferryman through the ethereal waters, if that is a thing. I just made it a thing. Anyway, I am joined, as always, by my lovely Brummy sidekick, Stags Woodward. Ayo.
Ayo, how you doing?
Good. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
Awesome.
Late
So
there, actually.
yeah, it's late there, definitely. So today we're gonna be doing working with your intuition. How do you feel about that?
Right. Well, I mean, I'm coming from a point of knowing very little about any of this at all. I'm open to working with my intuition. I don't know how much intuition it will turn out that I have, but I'm hoping that I'm high on the intuition stakes. We'll see though. We'll see.
I think you're pretty good. I think you would. You might be surprised. You might be surprised.
I suppose it depends on how intuitive you are as to how right you are about my intuition. It's complicated already. I don't know.
You've got a point there. All right. So today on the show, we are going to have Evidential Medium Lisa Mandell. She's also a Reiki master and a teacher. She teaches medium and psychic development at Inner Peace in West Pittston in Pennsylvania. She also has really great guided meditations. Some of the best meditations. She does that regularly over at Inner Peace as well. So today, we're going to talk to her about how stags can start to develop their intuition, and if they so choose to do that. So please welcome Lisa Mandell. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here.
All right. So for the newly starting out, who maybe haven't experienced, or I should say, haven't realized that they've experienced their own intuition, how does one start to develop that ability?
Well, the first step really is acknowledging that you have an intuitive side, and everybody, including stags, has one. When you walk into a room and nobody said anything, nobody's done anything, and you feel really good about the room and the people for no reason that your logical, reasonable mind can tell you, that's using your intuition. When you walk into that same room and you feel, oh my God, please get me out of here. Do not make me be here one more minute. That's your intuition as well. You know, some people are more comfortable calling it a gut feeling. But it all starts with realizing that your body is an incredibly complex machine that processes way more information than your conscious mind realizes, and allowing your attention to focus a little bit more on the signals that your body is giving you, rather than just saying, my brain tells me, my conscious mind tells me there's nothing wrong with this room. I'm going to walk in and I'm going to have a good time, even though every inch of my body is screaming, get out now. Stags, have you ever had an occasion where you've walked into a place and you felt really good about it or really bad about it when it was your first time in there?
I suppose so. I mean, it's not something I've ever really focused on, but now you say it, I kind of think, yeah, I mean, you do have a sense of a place, don't you, when you go in there? It's not something really that I've sort of, I don't know, it's not something you're encouraged to think about, I guess. It's something that you go, well, yeah. So, well, obviously I'm coming to this quite as a blank slate. And I'm kind of now rapidly going through all the places in my life and going, yeah. I mean, as a stand-up comedian, I've walked out of a lot of places with bad atmospheres. I guess places do have a sense, don't they? So, yeah, I guess.
Or if you're a stand-up comedian, if you walk into a place and you standing in front of the audience, before you make, your first joke, before you say your first word, you read that audience.
Yeah, Well, yeah, I mean, sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but yeah. I mean, that suddenly occurred to me, if you walk into a gig where a comedian's doing badly or just done badly, Yeah, I mean, you can feel that. I guess it's like you're saying, there's lots of things that you're picking up on that you're maybe not conscious of, but you can walk in there and sense a bad atmosphere. So yeah.
So that's your intuition. That is being aware of your intuition, of your intuitive side. We are all born with this ability and with all of these abilities. We are trained as young children to ignore them, to put them away. When you go to kindergarten or grade school and, you come in and the teacher says, okay, it's 11 o'clock, we're going for lunch. And you're like, no. My mom always gives me lunch at 12 o'clock. So your body is trained to eat at 12. Your teacher says, no, we're going for lunch now. So you go down and you're not hungry, so you don't eat. Then you come back up and you're in class and, it's 12:30 and you're like, excuse me, I'm really hungry. Teacher says, too bad. You learn to eat when the rest of us eat. Otherwise, you're going to be hungry. So we're trained not to listen to our body, not to listen to our instincts, not to listen to our knowings. We're trained to use our external senses and believe and understand our external senses way more than our internal senses. Does that make sense?
Yeah. This is interesting stuff. Yeah, it's already more interesting than I thought it was going to be. Not that I didn't think it was going to be interesting. But no, I'm intrigued. Yeah, that's very interesting.
So that's how it all starts. We're born with it. We have to have some sort of sense of knowing if we're safe, if it's good, if we're hungry, all of these things we have. For all of our external senses that we have, the sight, the smell, the hearing, the taste, the feeling, we have these internal senses as well. But just like some people can walk up to a piano never having had any lessons and play it beautifully, and some people train for years and can barely, get chopsticks out, it's the same thing with the intuition. Some people are born with a stronger sense, a stronger knowing, a stronger connection to their internal senses than others. And there are some people who have a very good, strong connection and they will use it throughout their childhood. And then all of a sudden something will happen that frightens them. Or they'll have an adult come up and say, no, you're wrong. You're lying. That's bad. That's evil. That's horrible. Don't do that anymore. And so they shut it down. And then we turn around and as we get older and a little bit more open to things, trying to find that connection that we've lost. I see that a lot. There are peaks when in our development where our intuitive side really kicks in stronger. Puberty is a good one. I get a lot of kids who, parents call me, my kid is going through puberty, and, as if that's not bad enough, now suddenly they're saying, these foods are no longer good. My daughter had the exact same thing. When she started getting 11, 12, 13, suddenly she would not eat bread. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Eat the stupid bread. Wouldn't have breaded chicken, wouldn't eat a sandwich. It was just like nothing with bread. And I'm like, dudette, listen, I don't cook. You got to eat this, otherwise you're going to starve. So she did. And then we found out that she developed celiac disease. Mm-hmm. So her body was telling her that this is bad for me. I can't eat that. But did she listen to that? No, she listened to her mother. So she ate it, she got sick, and it took us 3 years with doctors to find out why.
Wow. Mm.
So how do we start to develop that? Is there like a moment where we start to realize that, or is there some way that we can tap into that to get the development, to get that started with working with your intuition instead of working against it?
That's a really good question. Thank you. The first thing that I recommend to everybody every time is meditation. Meditation gives you the opportunity to bring your attention from the outside world and things going on around you to what's going on inside of you. Meditation doesn't have to last for an hour or 30 minutes or even 20 minutes. Most of my meditations go for about 20 or 30 minutes. Meditation could be as simple and as easy as just 3 breaths. You know how when we're kids and we get really angry and our parents tell us, okay, count to 10 before you say something or do something, and that'll take care of it. And they're right, but they're wrong. Just counting to 10 doesn't do it. You can do it with 3 focused breaths. And what I mean by a focused breath is you have to focus on something other than what it is that's agitating you. For me, what I recommend to people is just concentrate on your breath. Bring your attention to the air as it goes in and out of you. Your brain is an incredibly complex machine that can do so many different things, and it can do them very, very quickly, but it can really only do one thing at a time. So if you force your attention to your breath, you have to relax. You have to calm down. I mean, there's all sorts of studies and stuff, and I have no idea where they are. Google has them all over the place. But they show that meditation helps reduce, you lower your blood pressure, slow your heart rate, slow your breathing. And so we do this, in all of my beginning classes. I have everybody just stop and take 3 breaths and focus solely on noticing the air as it goes in and out. And for people who can't see other people's energies or auras, it's a little less obvious. But for the people who are experiencing it, as you take those 3 breaths, it's like all of a sudden you notice the shoulders were up like this and the shoulders go down. As I'm looking at somebody, I can see the aura around them, the energy around them, and I can see the chaotic energy around them, and I see how it just kind of smooths out. And it's really fun. So meditation is really the first thing that I recommend for everybody.
Do you have any questions there, Stags?
Well, I'm slightly worried that you can see my energy at the moment because I'm imagining it might be fairly chaotic. Is it? How's it looking? Or is this not an internet related thing?
I have to put glasses on. I'm sorry. Because the pictures are a little bit small, so it's a little bit more difficult for me to see.
I almost wish I hadn't asked now. I feel a little bit exposed. Okay.
You're so cute. Okay. Yeah, as you're asking, it keeps changing. Okay. So a little tiny bit about energy and auras. Everything gives off energy. People, plants, animals, rocks, chairs, everything. The board behind you, by the way, the sound deafening board, gives up a lot of chaotic energy, but that's beside the point. So everything gives off energy, and our energy changes with who and how we are. Just like your face. I have an aura camera, so we take pictures of people's auras so that they can see what I see, which is something I think is really cool. And what you find in those is that the center color, the core of who you are, stays the same, just like your face stays the same. But the energy around that central core changes with the emotions that you go through. Just like your face changes with a smile or a frown or a grimace, your face is still your face, but the expression on it changes. Your energy is always your energy, but the colors and the intensity and the shape of it changes a little bit by what you go through. So as you were getting all nervous about me looking at your energy, it got more chaotic. As you were trying to process all the information that I was just throwing at you, it calmed down a whole lot. You've got a lot of blues in your aura, which is not surprising because you talk. Do you know anything about any of this?
No. I'm like I said earlier, I'm a blank slate to all of this. I'm fascinated, but I do like blue a lot, so that's a good start for me.
Okay, so we all have a lot of energy centers in our body, but our main energy centers, the energy centers are called chakras. The main energy centers in your body follow your spine, from the base of your spine up to about a hand span above your head, and it follows a rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo, and violet. So the red is down at the base of your spine, and that's all about your sense of safety and security, stability, whether your world is kind of nice and calm or something's been rocking it. The next one up is your sacral chakra that shows and talks about your ability to adapt, your emotions. You go up a little bit higher to about your solar plexus region. That's yellow. That's your energy. And that shows, how much energy you've got, whether it's overactive or underactive, whether your batteries are charged or drained or ready to explode. Goes up to your heart chakra for green. throat chakra is blue, your third eye is indigo, and then your crown chakra is violet.
Right. So because I talk, that's why it didn't surprise you about the blue then.
Exactly.
Okay. Okay, this is interesting. Yeah, I was once told that my chakras were very blocked, though, but that was said in anger, so I don't know if that's true or not.
At that moment, they may have been.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I think it's part and parcel of being English a little bit as well. I think you have to expect a certain amount of blocked chakras, maybe. Don't feel you need to comment.
That happens to everybody, though. I mean, even us, even me and Lisa, other people in the spiritual community, our chakras get blocked every once in a while. It happens.
And bear in mind, I really have no idea what I'm talking about at the moment as well.
Okay, but a blocked chakra is, again, like an expression on your face. It's not something that's permanent. It's just the moment that you're in.
Oh, okay.
So if you were under attack, if somebody was, angry with you and saying things to be hurtful or to be obnoxious or just to, in anger, I would expect your chakras to close down so you don't take all of that crap inside of you. When your chakras are wide open, you're just like, arms open to let it all in. And when they close down, it's like, no, not for me. Thank you. Keep it to yourself.
Right. So it's not like a sort of spiritual constipation then or anything like that.
Correct. Or
okay.
not necessarily. So rather than just going through like all my lesson plans over the last 5-6 years, do you have any questions about any of this?
Is this to me or to Brenna?
Yeah, I think it's for you because you're the one who's learning this. I mean, I'm trying to formulate questions, but I mean, you're the one who.
Well, there's a whole world of information out there that I'm trying to absorb here at the beginning. So I suppose the idea is, I presume that the goal is to become more open to these. What we're talking about then, the sort of I guess, would you say it's beyond the 5 senses? So it's not what we'd sort of classically think of as just the basic 5 senses. It's more of a sort of holistic, is that the right word? Sort of sense of being, and then to take, this is tricky to formulate, and then to take all of this information and then to be responding in a more intuitive way to what's going on in your life rather than sort of in a very sort of basic level.
It helps you to be a little bit more proactive and a little less reactive. If you're aware that you're walking into a room where the audience is just in a foul mood, then you know that you need to start with something to help bring their energy up into a more pleasant place. If you've got a whole bunch of rowdy drunks, you know that you've got to bring things down a little bit. Otherwise, you're just, wasting your time and your breath up there. So being aware of what's going on around you, you look when you walk into a room to see, what's going on, but you also feel it. And if you come into it knowing what's going on around you, having more information, that leaves you better prepared to be able to deal with more situations.
And so is this primarily in relation to other people, or, I mean, obviously at the moment, we're sort of in the middle of lockdown while this is being recorded. So I'm doing a lot of walking into empty rooms at the moment. Is that something as well that I should be, that you could be considering what you're bringing into the room when you're coming into a room to maybe do some work or something like that? Is it, or is it in relation to other people?
No, you should be using it. One should be using it for themselves as well. If I'm deciding I want to paint today, and, there's this really pretty picture that I've been looking at and I'd like to paint, but I'm in a really foul mood and I'm trying to pretend that I'm not, the painting is going to reflect the mood that I'm in. So if I'm aware of what I'm bringing into the room, I have an opportunity to address it before I pick up the brush.
Okay.
So, have you ever heard of feng shui?
Yes, I have heard of it. In fact, partly because somebody corrected my pronunciation of it, because obviously I think I was going for the feng shui, which that's incorrect. But I know, so it's to do with positioning of, is it to do with like, I'm thinking of it in relation to interior design. That's possibly not the best way of wording it. But is it in relation to that?
To look at it. And what you can do to make a room better for you so that when you walk into it, it is something that fits your energy so that you can be comfortable in there, so that you can let down your guard, so that your chakras are allowed to open and relax. It's like having your muscles clenched all the time and being able to walk into a place and relax.
Okay.
But if your room is not set for you, then it doesn't help to promote that feeling of relaxation, that feeling of your space. So for some people, it has to be absolutely, completely clean and clear and perfect. Everything's got to be lined up all nice and neat. For other people, it's got to be a little bit messy. If it's too clean, they don't feel comfortable relaxing in there. I have a sister whose house, she has white couches. I'm afraid to sit on her couches because, I might make them dirty. In my house, my pillows are not all on the couch. Sometimes they end up on the floor and they stay there. And I'm okay with that. She walks into my house and she has to pick up the pillows so that she could be more comfortable in it. And that's what feng shui is all about, is each person knowing the person's personality, knowing their birth month, knowing their birth year, helps to be able to create the space that's right for them so that you can feel more comfortable in the room. And then there's some basic stuff that's, for anybody, anytime. When you set up your desk, don't set your desk up with your back to the door. If you have your back to the door, you never know who's coming in. You never know when somebody's coming in. So part of you is always on guard.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes sense. I'm sure I heard some. So there's some odd. I've got like a half memory of something about you're not supposed to put your car keys in the toilet or something like that. I think I've got that wrong. I mean, I'm fairly sure.
You really shouldn't put your car keys in the toilet.
Yeah,
but
that's not feng shui, is it? No, right. But there are certain things because I guess like I was thinking the other day, I would never sleep with my head into the room. My head's always at the wall end of the bed. And it just feels unnatural to be sleeping in a room. I think I had to sleep at a friend's house and I was in a room with the door behind me. And that was just naturally quite uncomfortable to sleep in a room. I was like, right, well, I feel really exposed sleeping the wrong way up in this room. So I guess, is it things like that? Or are there other things that you need to learn that aren't, I mean, I was going to say that aren't intuitive, but presumably all of it's intuitive based on the structure of this conversation, I'm guessing.
Pretty much, yeah.
I'm getting intuitive.
So, and this is, I think part of that is because everything is energy. Even when we were talking about feng shui, objects, even inanimate objects, everything has an energy, has a vibration, right? So the way we interact with our environment.
Well, see, it's interesting for me as well because I did have, Brenna, I think you know this, that I had a hoarding disorder a few years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I'd had that for quite a few years, and it ended up with the whole house being full of stuff. I couldn't throw anything away, and it was quite tough to work through. But it did also mean that the house was, quite an unpleasant place to be because I just had stacks and stacks of things around the house. Interestingly, the way I got around that was to start to value space as much as I was valuing the stuff that I was bringing into the house, and eventually so I managed to gradually clear stuff out. But yeah, no, it's interesting. It's kind of, there's several different aspects of that are kind of.
And going back to the intuition and the color and stuff, you'll find that different colors, because of their vibrations, make you feel better or worse. If you have a lot of red in the room, like a lot of red in the room, you may find that you feel more energetic or overly energetic sometimes, and that you can't relax totally in that space because there's just too much energy. Red is an energetic color. In a lot of like Italian restaurants, you notice they have the red checkered tablecloths.
Yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's that energy. It makes you hungry. It makes you've got to burn up that energy because you've got all this extra energy. So it makes you hungry.
Okay, yeah, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you've got more of the blues, you're going to want to drink more, but not necessarily want to eat more.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, I just realized that's probably why a lot of bars have like those kind of lights. They're like kind of low and more neon, but yeah, they always tend to have more of a bluish tone, don't they?
They do.
I think you're at different bars than me. You go to bars with blue neon lights?
Well, I mean, the neon. Well,
Sounds very
I'm sure, but I'm sure our bars are slightly different than pubs. Maybe.
But look at the emblems of the logos that they've got in neon.
I mean, I have a candle lit over here still, pretty much.
Okay. When they let you back out again, you'll notice because blue is more of the watercolors.
Right. Okay.
So
we're matching with your scarf, by the way. We've both got.
Oh, good.
Yeah, some turquoise on. Would you call that turquoise? I'm always a little bit slightly out with colours sometimes, but yeah, okay, good, yeah.
Well, like with different places, like Coors Light, like certain brands, they have blue in their logo. There's a lot of brands in America that especially with alcohol they use blue.
Mm-hmm.
So, because I work as a graphic designer as well, so I do think about branding. I hadn't thought about blue. I hadn't thought about it in that relationship. Obviously, I know that you'll have like a navy blue or a dark blue quite often for a bank or something. Used to be, or like a nice dark green.
Okay,
but now they're zazzing them up a little bit for slightly brighter sort of colours sometimes. But yeah, it's to seem secure, I'm guessing.
Exactly. So you're going down with the lower chakras, the reds, the oranges. You mix them together, you get the darker, deeper tones. So that gives people a sense of safety and security. You're going to keep my money safe so I can go to you.
I'm going to be going through my designs now with this new chakras. Okay, yeah, so that's why I use that color there, is it? Yeah. Okay, interesting, yeah.
So everything has energy. And as different things give off different energies, we can perceive those energies differently once we become aware of them, once we look for them. See, you're aware of them now, you're just not looking for it. You're not aware that it's right there. Plants are really good with this. If you have a plant that flowers and you're looking at the plant and you're watching the plant and you see all the green leaves on it and everything's really good, and then all of a sudden you notice something's different. Before the bud even starts to form for the flower, you feel the difference and you start looking for it. And like a day or two later, it's, you say, oh, look, there's where the flower is going to come out. I've been looking for it for 2 days now. You didn't look for it last week, but in the last couple of days, you started looking for it. You felt a change in that energy. So really, it's just becoming more aware of what's going on, what you feel inside, what you notice inside, as opposed to just what you see outside.
And then how do we connect that with the extra senses? Like going into from just feeling and knowing that it's there, and then being able to perceive through the five senses, through the extra senses.
Okay, so the first thing that you have to do, well, you don't have to, but the first thing I recommend, you can do whatever you want. The first thing that I recommend is taking some time to start noticing things and then trust it. Most people, when they come to me, are like, I think I see, or I think I hear, or I think I know, or I think I've experienced. It's like, no, you experienced it. That's why you're saying it to me. And then they start second guessing it because they didn't see it with their eyes. They didn't feel it with their hand. Well, you've got all of these other senses. We feel with our hands, and we talk about what we feel with our hands. Your entire skin feels. Your entire skin breathes. Your entire skin, when you're out at the beach and the wind comes, you feel it on your legs, you feel it on your arms, you feel it. Okay, your hair doesn't feel, but you feel it, as it pulls. Well, stags not so much, but hair's too short. But you feel as the wind goes by. Our whole body can feel things, but we tend to dismiss anything we didn't feel with our hands. So taking some time to notice these things and learning to trust that, yes, I did feel that. I walked into this room and it felt good and I made my new best friend. Or I walked into this room and it didn't feel so good, but then somebody else walked in or somebody said something and I felt the energy in the room change. And so noticing that is the first step. Once you start noticing it, you're going to notice that you perceive things a little bit differently. Some people, just like we all, have all of our outer senses, we have our inner senses. So some people see inside. Do you know what a red Corvette looks like?
Right. So I'm absolutely terrible with cars. I'm not very good. That's like one of my famous blind spots is that because I don't drive and I'm really bad at identifying cars. But I'm feeling like I've got a sense of what a red Corvette is like. It's one of those quite impressive sort of American cars. Is it the ones that people drive on Sunset Strip that I'm imagining?
Probably. Just like
That
think
sort
of a red sports car, I would say.
Let's make it easy. Do you know what a double-decker looks like?
Yes, I do. Yes, a London bus.
Okay, yes.
Okay. I visualize that.
Just like you're seeing that right now is how a lot of psychics see. They don't see the bus in front of them. They see the picture of it in their head. Now, if all of a sudden you have a picture of one of those London buses in your head for absolutely no reason, and then an hour later, you're out walking the street, it starts to rain and a bus pulls up and you go to step on the bus. That's your intuition. That was your intuition telling you, I'm going to need one of these. So I should be aware of when it pulls up. Your other senses aren't going to know why. I mean, it's not raining right now. You're not cold right now. You're not tired right now. So why would I possibly see one of these big red buses? I don't need it. But it is like a heads up for you that this is something that is coming in the very, very near future that you should be aware of. Phone calls before there was caller ID. The phone would ring. You'd think of somebody and the phone would ring and it was them. Or the phone would ring and you would think of a person and you'd pick it up and it's them. These are all using those inner senses. Do you know row, row, row your boat?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Do you hear it playing in your head right now?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. That's how some psychics hear. And that again is using your internal senses. You have them, you use them all the time, but you dismiss it, just like everybody else generally does. The feelings we talked about, a smell. Have you ever walked into a room, there's nobody in there, there's nothing in there, and you get a scent, just a passing scent, and it reminds you of somebody, maybe somebody who's passed?
Yeah, I have that.
And you're like, well, hang on a second, they're gone. Nobody's been in the room. Why on earth would I have that scent? That is also using those internal senses, those intuitive senses that tells you that that person was there. So a little bit about the difference between mediums and psychics. All mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are medium. A psychic is someone who gets information from not the World Wide Web, but like the universal web. A medium is somebody who talks to somebody who's passed.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay.
So because everything is energy, and because of the law of conservation, energy is never lost, it just changes form. When somebody passes, they still exist. Look at water. It's my favorite example. When you have water moving at a very low vibration, you have ice. When the molecules speed up, you have water. It's in its liquid form. So you have a solid, now you have a liquid. Same thing, but the energy is just moving at a different speed. You speed those molecules up a whole lot more, you have steam, it evaporates. The molecules still exist, but you can't see them anymore. But they still exist. Same for people. When we pass, we go from that solid form to that gaseous form. So their energy still exists, and they check in on us because they love us, because they have a connection to us, not because they're not resting in peace, not because something is wrong, but like a parent checking on a child at school when they go away to school. You know, I'd like to know you're still alive. I'd like to know, how you're doing. So I'm going to just peek in and see how you're doing. Sometimes if you're going through a rough patch, they'll hang around a little bit longer because you're going through a rough patch, and their presence makes it easier for you. Even if you can't see them, you can feel them using your intuitive senses because you know them. Stags, do you have any siblings?
No. Well, it's slightly, my mother would be very angry if I said I've got no siblings, because she has beagles that she forces me to refer to as my brother and sister. But I don't have any human siblings.
Okay. Makes it a little bit harder for an only child. When I was younger, we would go for trips on the weekend with my parents in the car. And my little sister would be sitting next to me saying, "I'm not touching you." And her finger would be like millimeters from me. And I could feel her touching me. And, I would say, "Stop." And my mother's like, "She's not touching you, just stop." It's like, but she's in my energy. She's in my space. I can feel her. And my mother would say, "No, you can't. Stop. Okay, this is the parents, the adults telling you that what you're feeling is wrong." No, I could feel her. She was in my energy. Her energy is still the same. So when she comes up to me now and says, "I'm not touching you," and has her finger a millimeter from my shoulder, I can still feel it, even though she died 9 years ago. Everybody can. The people who love us are still connected to us. Their energy is still connected to us. We can still feel them. That's the easiest way to sense them. Sometimes we can smell their scent. Sometimes we can hear their laughter, or occasionally their admonition. Like you had said earlier, when your mother uses your full name in that tone, when I'm doing something I should not be doing, I can hear my father say my name in that tone.
Oh, no.
Just like you just heard "row, row, row your boat." It's not like he's in the room here with me out loud, but I hear it in my head because he's still with me. And he happened to be checking in on me at that particular moment. And I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah, just like I had experience when I was learning Reiki. My teacher, actually, the woman that I was teaching, that was teaching me, she knew my grandfather. I didn't really know him very well. I was 2 when he passed, but I always felt really connected to him ever ever since, growing up, even though I don't remember him really well, like he was always there. And every time I went to her house, he was always there, because she's also a medium. She's like, he was always there. But it was funny because he'd always say that he was my dad. He would always come across like he was my father. It's like, oh, yeah. But yeah, so they're always kind of there.
Stags, we look like we've confused you.
No, I'm just thinking how much stuff that I'm taking on board at the moment and trying to. I've grasped to not putting my car keys in the toilet.
Check.
Apart from that, I'm thinking I should have made notes now. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah. Wow. This is a lot of stuff for early days. I am, like I said, I'm taking on as much as I can do. And at the moment, I'm sort of planning my week ahead and going, okay, so I'm going to be sensing, I'm going to be looking out for stuff, I'm going to be seeing what I feel about all of this, which is, it's interesting stuff.
You can also stop and notice, just, as you're walking down the street, just stop for a second. Try to get out of the middle of the street or the middle of the sidewalks. And just notice the energies that pass by you. These are people who you don't know anything about, and you'll never know anything about them, so that's fine. But what do you feel with this person passing by? Is this person angry? Is this person happy? Is this person scared? Is this person sad? Is this person incredibly energetic? Is this person, walking, plodding, struggling to walk? When somebody walks by, do you suddenly feel hungry or tired or energetic? Opening yourself up just a little bit, just for a short period of time, to notice what's going by you.
Yeah. And so can I ask, is this something that you've done all your life, or is it something that you've come to along the way? And is that something, have you noticed, are you sort of super keyed into all this sort of stuff? Do you find that people come to you and go, right, what are you sensing at the moment? Or how does this affect your everyday life?
Okay, a lot of questions in there.
Yeah.
Let me start with, when I was much younger, my little sister and I used to play with this all the time, because we didn't know that not everybody could do this. We didn't know that this wasn't the normal, natural thing that everybody did. So it was just something that we did. When we started going to school and Girl Scouts and religious school, and we stopped because you don't do this with these people, and just don't do it at all, because you're not allowed to do this. That's wrong. That's bad. It's evil. It's whatever. So we stopped because, they said we had to, and we listened because we were obedient sometimes. And then my sister went to school at Duke in North Carolina, and studied in their paranormal department and did some incredible experiments down there. So she would call me up in Virginia and would run me through some of the tests that they were doing down there. And we had some success with that and had a lot of fun with that. And then I got married and had a kid, and life got in the way. So it just all kind of got put to the side. Then people started dying. And you'll find with a lot of people that this is really the turning point for when they turn it back on, is their need to connect with someone who's passed, usually with someone who's not ready to let them go. And I was all of those things, but that's not what got me into it. What got me back into it was my daughter, because she was still young and my husband passed, and she was still talking to him. And people wanted to send her to a psychologist, and people wanted to medicate her, and people wanted to do all these different things that just felt wrong. So I went back into the spiritualist metaphysical community, and I said, listen, I need help. I need answers. I need guidance. And from there, I realized there's a lot of people who need that help and guidance. And so I studied everywhere I could, everything I could. I was taking classes traveling all over the country, working with a bunch of different people, trying to learn everything I could, trying to get a handle on all of this. And then turned around and started teaching what I'd learned so that fewer people had to navigate that path alone. There are people in my life who will be like, oh, I'm so glad you're here. I needed to ask you about, I've got this job offer, or I'm thinking of leaving this job, or I just met this guy, or, where's my energy at today? Or, can we pull some cards and see what the tarot deck has to say? Or, I'm really missing my dad. Can you, see if you can touch base with him and see how he's doing? Or, I have a friend who just lost her son and she's really sad. Can you go and give her a reading because, she needs that connection. So I work 9 to 5 at a job. I sit behind a desk and do the whole left side of the brain. The left side is the logical, methodical, A plus B equals C kind of side. And then at 5:30, I am taking off that hat and I'm putting on my other hat. And by 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock, I'm in classes, teaching, connecting to your intuition, and your intuitive side, doing psychic development, doing medium development, learning how to understand tarot cards and runes. And probably the most important thing I do is on Friday nights, we do Friday night meditation so that people all week long, you've got all this crap that's building up. And then you get to the weekend and you've got your family and you've got all this crap that's built up and you just start taking it off piece by piece, but your family has to deal with all of it. And then by Sunday night, you're feeling really good and your family didn't get the benefit of any of that. And then you go back into work and start bringing it all back in. So at the meditations, people come and Brenna's been at a lot of our meditations, and it gives you an opportunity to just let go of all of the crap you've collected over the week so that when you're dealing with your friends and your family in your time, you're dealing with them as you, not you dealing with all the crap you brought in along the week.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you, well, we were talking about the 5 senses before, it's gone.
Clairvoyant.
It floated away. How to know what it is that how you receive messages, knowing which senses are more prominent, being able to figure that out.
Experimentation. Taking those moments to stop, take those 3 breaths, and just notice how you experience and perceive things. Do you hear something in your head? Do you see a picture of something in your head, or do you see words in your head? Do you feel it in your stomach? Is it just a knowing? Do you smell something? There's all these different senses, but if you never take the time to start noticing, it's a tool that sits there and is never used. But as you start using it, what you find is that one of these senses is more developed than the others. So some people see a little bit better than they hear. Some people, my mother had an amazing sense of smell. She could pick out a gas leak before the gas company with all their myriad tools and everything, which was really helpful a couple of times. But everybody has a sense that is their strongest sense. And as you work developing it, you kind of hit a plateau. And once you hit that plateau, your second sense comes in and says, hey, I can start working a little bit more. So that one comes up to your plateau. And then your other senses start coming up. And then the first one says, all right, whoa, everybody's catching up. I'm going to go more now. And it starts climbing a little bit higher. So, if seeing is your sense, your inner sense, you see those pictures in your head, you'll start noticing that you start seeing more, or you start seeing more clearly, or you start seeing in color. There's all these different aspects to it that as you use it, they start to grow. Like anything else, the more you nurture it, the more it grows.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about talk about a little bit about empathy. What, because that comes from the clairsentience.
Yes, that knowing, you just know things. Empathy is a very good thing, but anything, even a good thing, if overused, is not good. So if we were talking earlier about having your chakras all closed down, if having everything wide open all the time, you get bombarded with way too much information, with way too many sensations, and it becomes overwhelming. There are a number of people who I've worked with who were medicated because they just were thought to have a psychological problem when their problem was they were just too wide open. And so everybody who passes by, you would feel their anger or their angst or their joy, but they found themselves being more drawn to the people with the anger and the angst and all of the emotions as opposed to the emotions. And if you're bombarded with that 24/7, it can wear on you. So taking that time for meditation helps you to focus more on you and what's going on inside of you and not just what's going on with everything else. There are also people who think you have to be either wide open or totally shut down. And what I try to liken it to is your front door. If you have it wide open all the time, you're going to have bugs and dust and strangers just waltzing in all the time, all hours of the day and night. Not necessarily pleasant people, because the pleasant people are going to respect your boundaries and stop at the door before just walking in, right?
Yeah. I dealt a lot with this growing up when I didn't realize how open I was, how empathic I was, and it was not fun. Taking in all of that energy from other people, all the different emotions that if not taken care of, I had panic attacks. And
people will find people like you and say, "Oh, I feel better when I'm with you because you take all of that in, so I have less of it. Now I feel better and I go on my merry way, and you're stuck with all of it."
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I've probably spent times with sort of, I don't know if I'd say gaping chakras, but quite large, open chakras. Yeah. So I need to find the happy medium sort of. So what you're saying is like appropriately responsive to the world around you, like you would do with the front door. Yeah, and that's a good analogy. Yeah, I can.
Okay. So when people start getting overwhelmed, what do? They slam the door. Keep the bugs out, keeps the strangers out. And our friends are still going to respect our boundaries and they would have knocked anyhow. But what if you opened the main door and left the screen door closed?
I'm having to now, like, because this is an American thing, I think, screen doors. I don't really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think. Screen on your window?
Sorry?
Do you have a screen on your window?
No, it's just.
No. You know what?
I've seen them
think
on
was it. What's up?
I've seen them on the Waltons. I think that's screen doors on that.
Well, didn't they have like I could swear at one point there was like curtains at the door or something like that to keep draft. I don't know. I've seen that before.
No, I can't think of any straight away. I've seen sometimes my grandmother used to hang these little ribbons down from the door to stop flies coming in. But I don't know. They're not quite the same.
Guess.
Yeah. We have net curtains on the inside of the. Yeah. So we got two sets of curtains. So maybe that's kind of.
What about like on a microphone?
Right. Yeah.
Okay, so you've had a microphone. There you go. You've got the screen in front of the microphone.
I've got our microphones now with the cards. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, same kind of thing. Put the screen up.
And the more I think about the screen doors, the more I think that I've seen them in a lot of horror films as well, set in America, where the door opens and then the hand comes through the screen door. Yeah. Okay, I'm getting an image now. Yeah. Possibly not the image we were going for straight away, but now I'm extrapolating that now away from the horror films. Don't worry. Sorry, I've taken this at a tangent.
Okay, so horror films is another really good example. Somebody who watches horror films all the time and is scared by them, not the people who, do it and they laugh because, it's so stupid, but who are actually frightened by what they see on the screen. Don't watch them.
I don't.
Yeah,
I know better.
Well, I spent most of my life avoiding them, actually. I watched a clip of Michael Jackson's Thriller, the video, when I was about 11 or 12, and it wasn't even the scary bit, but I was terrified for about 20 years after that. So I've only recently come into horror films. So yeah, so I'm. You don't need to convince me on that. I'm more the other way. I think maybe I need to sort of open myself up a little bit to stuff sometimes. But yeah, no, that's interesting.
Everything vibrates at a specific frequency. Colors, voices. I mean, we can see the vibration on a meter for audio, for colors, for sound, for light. We don't necessarily have the technology developed to be able to see every person's energy on the same kind of a waveform. But what you'll notice is that things that vibrate at a similar frequency to you feel good. And things that do not vibrate at that frequency doesn't necessarily mean they're bad, but they're not good for you. So trying to find the frequencies that match yours at whatever point in your life you're at is what's going to make you happy. That's why when people say, I went back to something that brought me so much joy as a child, and I look at it now and I'm like, I have no idea what I saw in it then. Your energy now is not the energy that it was then. And a lot of times neither is the place. So if something doesn't feel good to you, whether it's a horror movie or a dark alley or, a friend's party, if it doesn't feel good, turn around.
Oh, I've done that before.
And how often have you found out that you were well served by doing that?
Not all the time, but when I did, I'm like, well, there you go. Proof.
My daughter went to school in Rhode Island, and I live in Pennsylvania. So it was about a 5-hour drive. And it took me a couple of times to learn the correct path to take. That was the shortest, easiest way to go. I was coming home from it one time and had a very strong sense to make a turn where I never turn. And my GPS told me, go straight. The traffic signs, for the highway said to go straight. Everything inside of me said, turn left. So I turned left because I've learned to listen. And it took me on the most circuitous route back to the highway, not far from where I had gotten off. And I'd lost 20 minutes and I was annoyed. Like, this is stupid. Now I'm 20 minutes later, getting home on a 5-hour drive. I used up gas, I used up time. I just want to get home. Got back on the highway, wasn't on the highway for 10 minutes, and traffic came to a complete halt. And I'm like, well, what's going on here? 20 miles ahead, there was a fatal crash involving 14 cars. Do I know for a fact that had I gone straight, I would have been involved with it? Well, math says probably. But I listened to my intuition and I turned, even though every logical part of me said, that's the stupidest thing you could possibly do. So sometimes we don't know why we get these intuitive feelings. And sometimes we follow them and then get back on the road and have no idea why. And then sometimes we find out.
Yep, I've definitely been there before.
Yeah. Well, I'm now sort of, like I said earlier, I'm sort of thinking, right, okay, this week I'm going to go and I'm going to take some random turns. I'm going to see where I get led. So, I mean, is it possible to have very bad intuition? No, I mean, should I be worried? But I'm just thinking that we're fairly early days with this show, Brenna, and I don't want you to lose a show partner. Is it supposed to be, if I go out wandering the streets and take some random turns and stuff like that, do I need to practice this, or is it just, shall I just sense stuff and sort of put myself out into the world. Or I guess I shouldn't be asking you this question. I should be asking myself, shouldn't I?
But the thing to remember is, if it feels wrong, don't do it.
Mm. Okay.
So if you're curious about turning down this road and everything inside you says don't turn down that road.
Right. Mm-hmm. I mean, do factor in the fact that I am an idiot, though. So I'm going to try not to. Yeah. So this week, right? Okay, this is going to be one of my missions, and I'll be reporting about this. I'm going to. Well, I'll say I'm going to go and just put myself out into the world and see what happens. But then maybe I won't. Maybe I will go, actually, do you know what? I'm going to go back to bed. Now, I shouldn't give myself that option. Because that's too tempting, to be fair. But yeah, no, it's interesting. Yeah, there's a lot to take in, and there's a lot to try and work out all the different applications of how I'm going to do this, I guess. I presume, Brenna, you've been doing this for a while as well, have you?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Right. Well,
don't worry, I'll help you out. I'll help you out if you need have any questions afterwards.
I used to carry a dice with me quite often because I'm actually incredibly indecisive as well, though. So I don't know how that's going to factor into stuff. So who knows?
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Play with a pendulum.
So I didn't quite catch that.
Have you ever used a pendulum?
What? No, for making decisions, or?
Yeah.
No, I haven't. No.
All right, hang on. Do you know what a pendulum is?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I mean, in its most basic sense.
Okay.
Clock or something.
You can use anything that dangles. You can use a piece of string and a paper clip.
Okay.
I like pretty stones, so I use stones. You take a pendulum. You take a necklace or something that's hanging from a string or from a rubber band or something, or chain. And you hold it not over your finger like this, but like this.
So sort of pinched, yeah, for people who are listening. You're sort of pinching it.
Sort of pinched. And then you can, as you hold it, I generally put my elbow on the table so that I don't inadvertently influence it. And then I train it. Okay, so in training the pendulum, so that I know what the pendulum's doing and the pendulum knows what I'm expecting, I tell it, okay, when I ask you a question and the answer is yes, I want you to go back and forth, just like I'm nodding my head up and down. And the pendulum does that. And I say, okay, great, stop. And it stops. And then when you're going to show me no, I want you to go back and forth, just like I'm shaking my head. And it goes back and forth. And I say, okay, stop. And then I ask a question that I absolutely know an answer to. Did I take a pogo stick to work today? And I look at the pendulum and I see, did it give me the correct answer? And the pendulum is going back and forth saying, no, I did not take a pogo stick to work today. And then I ask a question that I don't know the answer to right this second, but I can easily find the answer to. We have had more snow in February in northeastern Pennsylvania this year than we have in years. So a valid question is it snowing outside right now? It says no. I'm going to go peek.
Thank God. That's all I got to say is thank God it's not snowing. I am so over it.
So have you still got snow while you're up there at the moment?
Oh my gosh, it's like every other day, I swear. It's horrible.
So what was the verdict?
What's that?
It is not snowing now.
Right. So that was correct.
So that was correct.
Okay.
So then I know that the pendulum and I are on the same wavelength. And I ask a question that I do not know the answer to, and I have to wait to find out. So when you are looking to find an answer to something, you can use the pendulum with the yeses and the nos. Should I turn left? You can't ask a compound question. Like, should I turn left or should I go straight?
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes or no?
Yeah.
But yes or no. Should I turn left? Should I get the beef or the chicken? My little sister used to take, her she used divining rods, little divining rods.
Right.
For her pendulum. And she would walk into the restaurant and, the menu would be there, and she'd have a little difficulty deciding what was best for her that day. And she would, say, should I have this? Should I have this? And she would go down it, her different choices until she decided which one she was going to have.
That could be helpful. Yeah.
Yeah, that could help you. All right. So to recap for intuition, working on your intuition, how to practice and work on that meditation, definitely, right?
Meditation is the first step. 3 breaths.
I've written down the 3 breaths. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody can do 3 breaths. 3 focused breaths. So noticing the air, you can do it right now. Just take 3 breaths. Okay, Brenna, did you see how his energy just blossomed on his second?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so you start with your 3 focused breaths. And then you just notice. What do you notice in your body? Do you notice any tingling? Do you notice any warmth? Do you notice any cold? Do you notice any places that are just trying to get your attention? If you are experimenting on the street or in a park, just sit on a bench or walk into a safe, closed doorway, like a business that's not open. So you stand in the doorway so that you're out of the main traffic and people just walk right by you, and just notice what you feel or what you see or what you hear. And don't just look with your eyes, close your eyes. Don't look like a bum that's, with a hat out or something like that. But, close your eyes for a moment and notice what you perceive, not just what you see, but what you feel or what you hear or what just suddenly pops into your head. Understanding that validation is not the goal here. It's not necessary for you to say, hey, I just got a feeling of like, you're sad. Are you sad right now? Okay, great. Thanks for letting me know. Goodbye. Yeah. Notice what you feel or how the energy of that person makes you feel for other people. When you're by yourself, notice how you feel for you. Are you holding your shoulders all the way up here? And can you let them go down a little bit? Is your back relaxed? Is it bothering you? Is your neck bothering you? Notice what signals your body is giving you. It seems really simple, and people hate simple when they're trying to, I'm undertaking this great metaphysical journey. They are generally not looking for something simple. They're looking for some complicated ritual that they have to go through in order to be able to access this secret stuff. It's not secret, and it's not hard. It just takes your attention.
Mm-hmm. Practice, practice, practice.
I'm going to have to bite my tongue to not check with people though, because if I'm sensing stuff, I'm going to be like, sorry, I think I've got something stronger. But I'm getting the fact that it's a spiritual faux pas to call somebody on. Excuse me, I was just getting a very angry, aggressive vibe from you. Am I right about that?
Well, I think it could work though if you're getting a sad, very emotional, sad, depressed feeling from somebody, to just be like, hey, are you okay? Is everything all right? For something like that, I don't think you're out of line.
Or you can offer a friendly smile.
Yeah.
Again, simple stuff that can change everything. For somebody who's feeling ignored, like nobody on the planet sees them, just having somebody make eye contact and a smile changes their whole day, their whole world. And you never know it because it's not for you. I read this on a meme, I guess, on Facebook somewhere. Sometimes you are the helping angel that somebody else has been praying for. And all you did was give them a smile.
Yeah, that's a nice thought.
Yeah. Well, there you go. You work on your intuition so that, if you get that feeling like, oh, maybe I'll ask that person if they're okay. And you get a thing saying, nah, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Maybe don't do it.
And also, if you ask them if they're okay, if you've got a sense they're not okay and then they say they're not okay, don't do a little fist bump and say, yes, I've got the power or anything like that.
Yeah, don't do that either.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you sound like you have some homework to do.
I have. I've got a load of notes. Yeah.
All right. Well, this has been really enlightening, and he's got stuff he's got to work on. I mean, I definitely could. You could always use a little more practice. It's always a practice, even people who've been doing it a while. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us.
Yeah. Thanks.
Thank you for. Thank you for all of your insight. It's been great. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks. I had a great time tonight, guys, and it was great meeting you, Stags.
Cool. Yeah, you too.
Oh, okay. So you've got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, I didn't embarrass you, did I?
No.
Good. Okay.
It's all right. You did all right. I'll keep you.
Yeah. I'm gonna learn to intuit when not to say the wrong thing.
See, there you go. So now,
some of your magic, though,
that's part of your charm.
Hey, that's good. I'm good with calling it that. Yeah. It's not what it's always been called, but we'll go with charm. That's good.
All right. Well, we had a great time. I hope that everybody else that's listening in had a great time. And we will see you next time. Bye. The ferry has reached its destination. As we reach the dock, you may disembark.
Cheers, Doc.